We got Dr. Lopamudra Das Roy. She's joined us here.
Thank you, Peggy.
She is going to be our next speaker. And you gotta share your screen.
Yes.
So we'll just let you do that. We'll get that all going.
Can you see my full screen, Peggy, Brett?
I can, Brett. Does it look right?
Yep, now you're in the presentation mode.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much, Peggy. It was wonderful listening to Tasha, because I think hats off to her for, of course, Brett is great and Peggy, you are great. But, knowing everything and being a part of the family, I mean, she's amazing. I loved what she said. So, yeah, thanks for bringing her in. And thank you, Ron and Gary, to be here. And it's always nice to hear from Ron. And yes, so I'm going to talk about, and Peggy and Brett, thanks to Male Breast Cancer Happens for inviting me again. And it's always a pleasure to be here, to be with you guys. And so male breast cancer, of course, we're talking about male breast cancer. But just to start with, when I first founded BCH in 2017, always like everything was all about pink, right? And my first goal was, and I didn't know Peggy at that point, but I always wanted to do something for the men. And that's why even our logo, you can see it has the touch of blue in there, because we always wanted to respect the men, though the statistics is 1 out of 833 men can get breast cancer in their lifetime. But I always say that that man is a father, brother, or the son of the family. So we cannot ignore and forget the men. And wherever I go in the month of October, I always try to push towards, let's have some touch of blue in there, and also supporting all genders too, because, different genders, breast cancer doesn't discriminate. Now, we also see here 4 ribbons coming together in our logo, which indicates that, we all are working together. And that's why our tagline with different cultures, ethnicity, we do not discriminate against anything. We serve humanity, and so we are here together. And that's why the tagline is "Together we save lives." And this is a real statistics even in the US. Like, we are still expecting 530 men death in 2024, according to the probability, with the 2,790 cases in 2074, according to the American Cancer Society. But then, unfortunately, the death rate is always significantly higher in the developing world. Though, even in the US, when I'm doing the outreaches in Charlotte, I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and like most of the times, though there has been a shift now since we started BCH in 2017, but we still see that there is ignorance, and men are still shy to speak about. First thing is that they are not even aware. So that's why to translate this information within our educated sector is equally important. Just a little bit about background about Breast Cancer Hub. I know Peggy and Pratt knows. So I founded this organization in 2017 after resigning as a cancer research professor from UNCC. And this is my full-time pro bono humanitarian service. And everything I do is 100% free. And with BCH, whatever donation we receive, 100% goes for the cause. So that's the framework we have. And that's the beauty of our organization. We all are volunteers. Now, little bit about the morphology of our, I know we always talk about the women and, how the breast tissues look like. With the men, it's always the probability are, because the tissues, the reason why we have less frequency of breast cancer, because we have less tissues. Now, this is the structure, and I'm sure we all are aware about the, ducts and the lobules. But the reason why I wanted to show this is because of the lymph nodes, because it's very important to understand that the lymph nodes or the immune cells, they are the areas where the tumor cells, if it invades the surrounding tissues, it goes to the lymph nodes. And so when I'm going to talk about checking our breast, it's not just the chest area, it's also the underarm, the lymph node area, and the collarbone area, because these areas are equally important, because when the tumor starts, it is there for some time, but it starts to invade, and we wouldn't know what is the grade of the tumor. It can be a slow growing tumor, it can be intermediate, intermediate or grade 2, or it can be an aggressive type of tumor too, which is grade 3. But the earlier we detect, the better the prognosis is. And that's why, unfortunately, even all across the world, we do not still have the screening process, as Peggy was mentioning, for the men. And with a collaborative effort, we have the breast self-exam, but the clinical breast exam, which the doctors need to do, and as Peggy was mentioning, is still not done for the men, which is very unfortunate. And that's where we step in to change the healthcare policies. But the bottom line is that with breast cancer, the different stages are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So as the tumor progresses, invades the surrounding tissues, as the number of lymph nodes affected, the size of the tumor, based on that, we do the staging. But when the tumor from the breast through the lymphatic system and the circulatory system and it travels to the distant organ, we call it a stage 4 or metastatic breast cancer with the stage 4, because it has traveled to the distant organ. It's difficult to cure the cancer. And that's why the early detection is very, very important, the intervention at the earlier stage. Now, because breast cancer, when detected early and treated correctly, is definitely curable. And here is what we have, because as a collaborative effort, I still remember, Peggy, we made this in 2018, right before I was supposed to go to India for the community outreaches, and with the help of Dr. Sarah and Sarah Cannon Cancer, with the help of Sarah Cannon Cancer Institute, Male Breast Cancer Coalition, Carl Baum Illustration, and BCH, we made this card. And this card is a lifesaver, because this is something that we have for the men also, because the first intention was that we need to have something for the men, and nothing better than the breast self-examination, because we need to understand the look and feel of our breast to detect any abnormality. I'm not going into the details of how to do the BSc, because we all are aware about it. But most importantly, I want to bring this up is that we have it in multiple languages, and we have it in 24 languages. And I'm so grateful to many of our breast cancer hub volunteers who have helped to translate in the local languages from scratch, no Google Translator. Because when I would think of going into the remote areas of India, where my first penetration was, besides the US, at that point, most of the times in the villages or even in the urban sectors, women are not aware about the English language. So that's why we needed to have something which is very doable. And it breaks the taboo, the shyness, and also because women in India or men, because man is a different genre by itself. But what helped me was that to do the community outreaches was because when I was bringing men in the picture, it was helping to even break the shyness, because men were then thinking, the women started to think that, if it's a man's disease too, why shouldn't we speak about it? But the other point that I understood was that, unfortunately, even if we have like the free screening going on, like the population in different parts of urban and rural sectors in the developing world, they do not want to go for the screening. The reason is that for them, their family is the priority. For the women, the health is the least priority. They are taking care of their household. And also in the villages, what we found was that the inaccessibility to healthcare facilities, but then on top of that, they are daily wage earners. So they didn't want to leave their daily wage and go for, even if we would take a mammo bus and go in their village. So these were the grassroots problems that we were facing. But then breast self-exam worked like magic, because we cannot negate the screening process of ultrasound and mammogram, which I'm always talking about the dense breast issues too in the USA, Africa, India, in the webinars. But what I want to say is that I take a printout of the local language wherever I'm going, and I give it in the hands of the people along with my WhatsApp number, because that acts like magic, because they know that already if they have any issues, even if the villagers do not have phone, the village heads will have it, and they will reach out to me. So these are the different strategies that I've tried to bridge the gap between the developed and developing countries. Now, before I go into how we are functioning in US, Africa, India, or globally, I would also like to bring into, little bit about because I know Ron or someone had mentioned about the genetics, what actually happens, what are the key risk factors. So unfortunately, even till date, many times, we are seeing in the family, the BRCA mutation that is running in the family, BRCA1 and BRCA2, but we do not ask the men of the family, the sons of the family, to go and do the genetic testing, because we're always thinking of the women, and I always push towards it. I say that because we have a probability of 25% of the gene to be inherited by the sons also, and they are not only prone to prostate cancer, but breast cancer, then also different other digestive tract cancer, pancreatic cancer too. So it's very essential and important that when a family history, ovarian cancer or breast cancer runs in the family, we also have to request, the healthcare system needs to request the men also to do the genetic testing, and not just alone the women or the daughters of the family, because that will help with the preventative measure, because this is definitely one of the main key risk factors. Though we say that 5 to 10% is genetically inherited, 80 to 90% randomly anyone can get breast cancer, which is very true. Now, I also want to mention that when we are talking about the genetic mutations, we shouldn't just restrict ourselves to the BRCA mutation, because we have to focus also on the different genes, like the high penetrance genes, moderate or the low penetrance genes, because they will have promoters for the upregulation of oncogenic signaling pathway in different parts of the body. And for the males, these are the different, risk factors that can happen. And I have it all in one card, and I can share it with Peggy also, like all this information. But we have seen that the different risk factors, of course, the full panel, the different penetrance, high penetrance genes also, which can be a factor. But of course, like the aging, family history, inherited gene mutation, radiation exposure, liver disease, alcohol, hormonal treatments, and then sometimes, the certain testicular conditions, obesity, the gynecomastia, and also the Klinefelter syndrome can be the risk factors, where we have in Klinefelter one extra chromosome. And in Cowden, we have different like lumps that are being, genetically, like, there's a mutation and we have lumps in our body. And sometimes the lumps may be converted to, though mostly they are benign, but they have a risk to be cancer too. So these are different risk factors for the male breast cancer. And just wanted to let you know that, even though there may be times when it may be like there are patients who tell me like, I do not have any of these risk factors, why did I still get it? And my answer is, I do not know, because there is a bucket which we really do not know, still we may get it. And there can be different factors too, which we are not aware about. There can be different genes which are like still not discovered, or different environmental factors. The other important thing I wanted to bring into highlight today is inflammation. Now, inflammation, as it was one of my studies, during when I was a research professor at UNCC and also with Mayo Clinic. So now what we discovered was that, when we have inflammation, like when we have arthritis, at that point, there are so many pro-inflammatory cytokines which are upregulated. And this, but we never think of a correlation between arthritis and breast cancer or any sort of chronic inflammation and cancer progression. But what we found was that because of this upregulation, there are certain lock and key mechanism, a molecular pathway, where the tumor cells, when they're traveling, they're very much attracted towards the inflammation areas, because, they get, it's like, for example, there is expression of stem cell factor on the breast tumor cells, and there can be expression of certain other, like factors on the pro-inflammatory cytokines. So, one thing that we always see is the c-KIT receptor. So basically, they act like a lock and key mechanism, and that's how they are attracted towards the areas where there's huge inflammation. Now, another important thing what we did was that we tried to target the inflammation and target to signal the pathways. And what we found out was that when we are targeting the inflammation, it's more like the metastasis, the rate of metastasis to the distant organ was also downregulated. So this was a great finding which got press release in 2000, if I remember correctly, I think 2012, from American Association of Cancer Research, for this mechanism that we discovered and the molecular pathways. But the reason I bring this up is that when we have patients who are suffering from breast cancer, any cancers, it's very important to ask the families whether they have any other chronic inflammatory condition in the body, because we equally have to downregulate that, because it more acts like a fuel in fire. So when I'm talking about the risk factors, we cannot negate the fact that inflammation can be also one of the risk factors for the progression of the cancer. Now, this is like in general, I tried to put together everything because what can be the overall key risk factors, and if because there are certain cancers which are preventable too, because 30 to 50% of the cancers can be prevented. And one of the main carcinogen means the agent that causes cancer, that damages the DNA of the cells, and is tobacco. So tobacco is a total no-no, is the leading cause of the preventable, cancers, which could have been stopped if we had intervened earlier. And it's more like the villages we adopted in the developing world, that it's not only just the smoking tobacco, cigarette, but it's also chewing tobacco, because I come from a part of India where there's a huge intake of chewing tobacco, and we have seen that the rate of cancer, the head and neck cancer, esophageal cancer, colon cancer, then bladder cancer, all these cancers are much higher than the different other parts of India where there is a less intake of tobacco. So that is why I want to say that, in general, smoking is also now known as a risk factor for breast cancer too, but it's more like overall, because the carcinogen that is present in the tobacco is not just confined to, a lot of times people tell me that, I didn't get lung cancer, I got some other type of cancer, though I was smoking all my life. I just want to say that it's not just the lung cancer, because that can also be contributing to other types of cancers too. Now, another important thing is alcohol. Alcohol doesn't have a direct correlation with, signaling pathways and oncogenic signaling pathways, but alcohol causes inflammation. But so that's why it's always better to have a control and in a moderate way. The social drinking is fine, but a moderation is always important. A balance is always needed, because, it's not the tumor development is not just a one-day thing. There's so many other disciplines, it's an interdisciplinary effect. So we just want to make sure that we lead a healthy lifestyle, because many times patients have told me that I led a very healthy lifestyle. I was exercising, I was doing all of that, eating healthy and doing everything correct, but still why did I get breast cancer? But then the same populace have also told me that the response of the treatment, those who have led a healthy lifestyle, the response to the treatment was also better. So nothing goes in vain. It's always good to have a good lifestyle. And for example, when I'm talking about good lifestyle, I'm talking about all these carcinogens which we are putting exogenously in our body, but also relieving stress from our body. Because stress is a master regulator for not only talking about cancer, for all the diseases. Do certain exercise which helps with the boosting the immune system. Then a lot of antioxidants in our body. For example, the eating healthy food. Now, once sometimes cheating is fine, but keeping a healthy diet is important, because there are free radicals which are generated in the body, and then the food actually, healthy food, they have certain antioxidants, and antioxidant, it can contribute an electron to the unpaired electron to the in the free radical. So this stabilizes the free radical, and it's no more available to go and damage the DNA of the cell. So that's why this is the bottom line. So it's very important that we provide good food to our body, which are rich in antioxidants, which are highly anti-inflammatory. That doesn't mean that, for example, curcumin in turmeric is very good, but doesn't mean that, we go in the market and buy capsules after capsules. I'm not talking about that. Just having a healthy diet, fresh ginger, fresh garlic, these are all onion, these are all anti-inflammatory and good healthy food. So just having those in our diet in a balanced way is very, very important. Next, I just wanted to bring this into, because I live in Charlotte, and we all are aware about the Camp Lejeune, because the water we are drinking. So we have to be very informed about the environment we are living, whether there is any background radiation going on, or because the Camp Lejeune is a very it's a very sad story, where Marine Corps base in North Carolina is just 70 miles from the north of Wilmington, and there were tanks full of chemicals. There was a leakage starting in 1953, and people were drinking this water for 35 years, and mostly, and there's so many cases of male breast cancer, but also different type of cancer. There had been lawsuit and so many other things. So, and it's very unfortunate for the families, because they had no idea. So a lot of times, checking the water we are drinking is also important. The food, the pesticides in the food, because there are parts in different parts of the world, there's a huge pesticide, in disposal in the vegetation, which are also at risk. Those areas are at risk with the cancer too. So the food we are drinking, eating, whether it's organic, a lot of times organic is not possible. So making sure that we are peeling off the skin or whatever way we can, to avoid the harm that we are causing to our body through whatever way we can to protect ourselves. So that is something that I wanted to talk about, like the risk factors and also how we can prevent the cancer. I still have probably time, right? So I just now, at this point, I want to mention a little bit about what are the different grassroots sustainable solutions that Breast Cancer Hub is providing, so that we can help in the untapped sectors also, because I work not only in the urban sectors but also in the rural sectors, and our work is more primarily in North Carolina, across USA, India, Africa, Turkey, and also globally through a hybrid model. Since COVID came in, we all became very familiar with the Zoom. Now in the USA, what I'm trying to do is trying to capture like the communities, from different sectors, mostly the underserved areas, the areas where we know different ethnic groups, the immigrant population, then of course the educational sectors, then the youth, because there are leadership programs that I tried to create so that I can involve the youth, because they are the torch bearers, and trying to inculcate the thought of art of thought leadership in the youth, so that they can take this message of early detection and prevention of cancer forward and spread it in their own network, providing this information. So everywhere we give out this brochure, which has the QR code, and that QR code takes them to the, if we scan it, it will take us to the 24 languages that we have for breast self-exam card for men and for women, both, for all genders. Now, we also created early detection card for other cancers too, prevalent cancers. So we put that two things in our QR code. And then we also give the contact information so that anyone facing any concerns can reach out to me, so that, we take the accountability, so that they know that the community knows that I'm always there. We are there for them. Like as Peggy said, right, at 2 a.m. also she gets phone calls, and I get it like probably, I don't know how many hours I sleep nowadays with all the, everyone having my phone number. Now see, so here you can see, I love this picture. You can see that a girl, who is a college student, and as I said, I do the outreaches, how she is teaching us another student, an undergrad student, how to do the exam. And this was a big eye-opener for the students also, because the students were coming, thinking all pink, and then when they are understanding that men get too, and it's like a very different perspective, that they leave the area, leave the venue with the thoughts that now they are empowered. Not only empowered, they have the resources and they have a place to go to if they have any issues. And this has really worked. And I have also tried to create different creative ways. Like I work with the veterans, military and service, the companies and all of them, but also in the community, trying to create innovative ways so that involve the community. For example, during the Easter, we make like different ribbons, like different colors, because each cancer is represented by a different color of ribbon. For example, childhood cancer, yellow. So I teach my students and tell the community that, whichever cancer any of your friends or anyone is affected with, draw the color, that type of ribbon on the Easter egg, and you can devote, with the names over there, and we are going to put it like an exhibition. So so those things I'm trying to do so that we can involve and engage, and these are the different ways we are doing in the US. In Africa, I work very closely. We have teams, like we have teams in Sierra Leone and Nigeria, and we've worked very closely. We do the community screening once a month in the rural sectors, in the areas where it's very underserved. And then whatever cases are suspicious from Breast Cancer Hub, we are trying to help with their treatment, with their surgery. We are not government funded, we do not have much funding, but whatever we get, we are using for these areas. Now, as I said, in India, the way we function is, doing in the urban sectors, doing all the awareness part, but also taking accountability. And as I've mentioned, more than 100,000 individuals all across India. And that's why you can imagine like so many new cases reached out to me later on or also on spot, and we could save them who would have never. And those are I'm telling you, the educated sectors in India, this particular picture that you see, they are the first row, they're all professors in India's topmost university, but they never went for screening. They never do breast self exam. So irrespective of education, irrespective of, the financial situation, the socioeconomic condition, women, men, or anyone, men are not even aware. So one of the outreaches I did in India, one lady who came for my session, and I will show you a picture because her husband had a lump, and she actually could pinpoint and tell her husband, you need to go and check with the doctor immediately. Because she came for the session, we could save his life. Now, these are these are like, what do I say? The satisfaction that has no bounds. To save this kind, which wouldn't totally have gone undetected. Now, while doing the outreaches, this girl over here, who you can see, she came up to me, and this was in 2019 in a very remote place in India. This girl came to me and said, why didn't you come to my village last year? My mother just died. So I told her that I couldn't come to save your mom, but no other moms will die from your village. And that's where we started to go deeper, door-to-door cancer screening. Now, when we started to do that, you can imagine that we started in 2020, February, and that's when COVID came in. And we realized that they didn't even have food. So we started to provide food. We did a holistic approach, because if these people did not have food, how do you think we could convince them that, okay, you're suspicious for breast cancer, you have to go to the hospital? So what we did was I created the team from the villages. So as I said, we are a volunteer organization, but the only remuneration who gets are my village teams, because they are themselves below poverty line. So I handpicked the girls. For example, a girl who is not able to complete her education because she has no money, but that part-time thing, the remuneration helped her to complete her education. Or a woman who cannot sustain her family because her husband is not working or he's no more. So that remuneration helps her to sustain the family, but she gets trained and she does the door-to-door screening. And that's when we realized that we couldn't just confined to breast cancer. They were complaining about cervical cancer symptoms, head and neck cancer symptoms, because tobacco consumption is huge. For example, you can see here, I'm talking to them and they have this, they are cutting the betel nut, where they're going to put there's a pan, we call it, with that tobacco over here, and they will chew it. They were doing it right in front of me. So these are the areas I'm talking about. But then the next challenge that we faced was, even if we would tell them that, okay, you have to go to the hospital, they didn't care, because as I said, food is the priority. The second point is, who is going to take the patient to the hospital, because they're daily wage earners, because then they will lose 2 persons' wage. So that's why we strategize totally. Our team, every 15 days, we take them to the hospital, we generate the income certificate, because the government aid will come in only when diagnosed. So before that, the subsidized treatment, whichever available, but the extra that needs to be paid, we do that. All the expenses we bear, and then we also bring them back home. We stay with the patients, and after we bring them back home, we also make sure they're eating food, and we come back to their home and take them back on the designated chemotherapy day, because otherwise they will skip it. So this is the grassroots sustainable solution framework we created, and this is now being replicated all across India. And this is the data, since we penetrated no single late detection, and they are so aware. And I cannot be more proud of the team that I was talking about, and they all are villagers, and and so this data I'm talking about, like all genders. So we have data of male breast cancer, more than 25,000 data now, no screening. So these are concrete data, and no one does breast self-examination. No woman, man are even knowledgeable about male breast cancer or breast cancer, any type of cancer. And so this is the validation that what we are doing is actually helping save, and we have screened, and we have saved all of these patients, the suspicious cases. They are diagnosed early because of the intervention. Now, when we talk about cancer care, we cannot ignore that the family, the caregivers, what happens is an emotional journey. So we also I had no thoughts to create a support group, but now 80% of the work I do is anonymous, is patient privacy. We have a very private WhatsApp support group, but in the villages, we have pockets of supports over there. And then, we make sure that they are taken care, and we try to, help them in different ways. We also have the Bravest Hero Ever. And remember, I told you about a lady who came to one of my sessions whose husband was diagnosed with breast cancer. He is the husband over here. And I'm so proud of him that he was saved. And we also honored him with the Bravest Hero Award in 2023. So this is the success, though male breast cancer is very low, but at least we could save one. Like another man in one of the outreaches, after I was done, he came to me and told me, can you touch my nipple area because I can feel a lump? And I was very happy that he came for the session, but he came for his sister. His sister was having breast cancer, but when he saw that I was talking about male breast cancer, he came to me, and we could save that man because he came for the outreach program and for his sister. So we have this Bravest Hero Award where we are trying to, recognize the men who are really helping to make a difference, and also the women too. Now, we also have a very unique care package, and I want to bring to your attention to the male breast cancer thrivers. If you need any of our care package, you just have to let me know. I will ship it to you, and that is only in the US I'm able to do it because international shipping is too expensive and I won't be able to afford it. So we made this pocket, and it's in different colors. It's not just pink. So we have a pocket here, and these are made by our expert seamstresses who are volunteers. They're giving their time to make it. We have a pocket with that we can put ice pack or heat pack so that you can put it under your arm post-surgery. We also have chemo port seatbelt pillows. When we go through chemo, there's a port, and while wearing a seatbelt, it hurts. So you can use this, as a seatbelt, and we for the seatbelt, and we also have made, you can see, very soft heads, because the knitted heads with the blisters, it hurts a lot. So we have these different colors, soft heads, so that it gives a lot of warmth and for our patients. And we also have handwritten cards that our students are writing and making with lots of efforts and time. So anyone needing any of our care package, please, Peggy, you just have to let me know and I can ship it to you all. Now, next, with the research part, I'm focusing on male breast cancer, of course, and also like LGBTQ plus community, those which are untapped sectors, and the rural sectors, epidemiology study, clinical data analysis, and our research is IRB USA approved, IEC Ethics Committee India, and Sierra Leone approved. Now, I think I've already mentioned this ones. Now, this is the scenario I wanted to bring it up. So, randomly, when I was doing the survey of 40,000 individuals, data is over here. You can see that urban and rural sectors, hardly anyone, is aware about breast cancer in men. Only less than 1% who are aware. They are also they kind of probably they have just known because of our intervention, which we were doing prior hand. So this is something which is an eye-opener, because in the developed country also, I see the same scenario. And we brought this data up, the distribution, the retrospective study, which we had in one of the conferences in collaboration with the, Male Breast Cancer Coalition. Male Breast Cancer Happens, and also with, because it was with Male Breast Cancer Coalition in the beginning. So we had this data, which, Peggy, Patricia, and Cherry, they all helped to give me this data, and we kind of analyzed, and we have it in one of the conferences published, where we saw that, a lot of distribution, with male breast cancer in the US, we have seen that most of the time the detection is late because of lack of awareness and also the lack of the screening protocol. Now, we are also having this in San Antonio Breast Cancer Symposium. This is the village work that I was talking about. This is one of the areas of the villages. I adopted many villages in different parts of India, but this is 22,270 screening population from this 2020 February to April 2024. And here, half of the population are men. And what we saw was that, with the screening protocol, that no one ever has done breast cancer self-examination, even for the women too, and also with the ultrasound mammogram, that is like a different genre. No one has ever done it. So this got accepted for the poster spotlight presentation at San Antonio. So that's what we are going to present. And I'm not showing the data because before the conference I cannot put the data out. But this is something that will be an eye opener because we want to do the changes in the healthcare policies so that we can bring into the screening protocol for all genders and in a very sustainable way, so that because not every, like in US, we can go for the screening in the hospitals, but also the rural sectors or different ethnic groups, what do they do? How do they do it? So these are the different strategies that we are trying to cultivate. Now, when we started BCH, a lot of times many ask me, like, how do you differentiate? And I always say that, why do we have to differentiate? We have to come together because we are fighting for a bigger cause, the cause of cancer. And that's where we are together today. And that's why I want to thank, Peggy, Brad, Bob, and the organizing team of Male Breast Cancer Happens for inviting me here today and giving me the opportunity to talk a little bit about the male breast cancer scenario. And what you all are doing is, amazing, because without you guys, I would not have been able to create the the breast self exam card, which I still remember my first discussions with Peggy in 2018. And how, like I said, I need something, to take, and then how quickly we made through the process of male breast cancer and breast self-examination, and Peggy collaborated, contacted the surgeon, and we could do this today, and which we have it now in 24 languages, which is lifesaver. So thank you so much, Peggy. Thank you, Brett, and thank you everyone here for listening to me. Thank you. Any questions?
I don't really have any questions. I just want to thank you, Lopa, for taking the time to join us and give us this wealth of knowledge. And we hope to see you here in KC soon, or we'll come visit you.
Absolutely. Anytime, Brett. Yes, absolutely. It's an honor to be here. And always, it's so fulfilling to be able to do something for the men. And there are times when, a lot of times, even in the US, many organizations will ask me that, do you want it to be only women? And I'm not going to do the session if it's only women. I want everyone. In different corporate sectors too, they will only send the women, don't want to send the men. And I'm like, men need to be here too. So these are things which is so essential, and I hope that we are fighting towards changing the healthcare policy even in the US, as Peggy was mentioning, so that the doctors do the clinical breast exam to start with, which is very simple, little bit of extra effort and time, but this will be a life-saving thing. The way the prostate is being examined, same way, if the breast is also examined, that would be something to even to generate awareness in the men, and later on they can do it on their own.
Yes, Lopa, I can't say, but thank you for all you're doing to bring the awareness globally.
Thank you so much.
Without you and these breast self-exam cards, and like I say, I can go everywhere showing these. Let me get that up there. The front and for the women. And we do have them in 22 different languages.
24. It's 24.
24 now.
Yeah, my students who are from Russia, then China, Japan, they all help to translate in all these languages too. So yes, their parents. So
yes,
it's in 24 languages.
It is so amazing that we've got it, and I tell you, I don't know what we'd do without you. God put us together, kiddo, just to make this happen. And anybody else you need to ask this woman, she is brilliant. And your discovery with the inflammation that brings on these breast, it has helped so many of the men to know that, to pass that on to their doctors. I'll tell you when we discuss it all. But who all else has questions for Dr. Lopa? She's amazing. There's Renee right now.
Oh gosh, this was amazing. Thank you so much. I want to connect with you so that we can do a grand round, or we can get our doctors aware. I am a nurse navigator, and I just went to a little family science fair. 2,000 people came, had this at the table.
Wow.
So one thing I'll just tell you, the little boxes need to be a little darker. They don't come out that dark. So maybe if you could just make them a little bolder. But it was amazing. I had people stop at my table, men who would say, I had a lump, and just like Brett would say, I had a lump when I was young and nobody would look at it. And I'm like, I'm tired of hearing this story. I've heard it twice. I don't want to hear it anymore. And then somebody else who told me they had a lumpectomy for something that looked suspicious, and they had a parent who actually had breast cancer. We have had 6 in our region this year, which is a lot, but I talked to Peggy as she was so enthusiastic, and I've already been bringing up at our breast conferences that doctors need to look at men for 5 extra minutes. I mean, does it really take that to look at a male breast? So, I'm very aware. I sit in here all the time, and I have to say, Peggy, too, I was very taken with, and Brett, with your daughter-in-law's talk. We need to be able to take away this terrified feeling that everybody has. And I think part of that terrified feeling, which is so common and such a burden, because of this cancer diagnosis. But I think having a self-breast exam, we took it away. I don't know. I see another doctor on here. We took it away as a recommendation on a monthly basis here in the United States. But I still say to our patients, even when I'm sitting with a family or when I'm sitting with a breast cancer patient, please, 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 if there is anything, I mean, a dimple, an inverted nipple, anything, discharge that you're seeing that's different, please do not let it go. It's just, it's egregious to me to hear physicians who have said to young women, let's just wait and see. By the time I get them, they're in tears. I'm practically in tears. And I think, oh, what has happened to us? And so your studies are amazing. We have genetic counselors who are looking at this because we are not finding a lot of BRCA genes. We're finding some genes of unknown variants, which I wonder someday if that's going to come back and we're going to have an aha moment. But all of you, my heart goes out to you. I just we've had a lot of snow, so I came in a little bit late. I was in the car with my husband, and it's so amazing. I mean, he hears my soapbox all the time, but so amazing to hear him really look at me and say, I had no idea. And to all of you who are survivors, I'm a survivor of female breast cancer, but I will say, wow, and what a journey you've been through. And thank you for this research. I will get in touch.
Absolutely. I would be so happy to be in touch with you, Renee.
Information.
Yeah.
So we'll
and after the conference, I will share emails of all the speakers with everyone so you all can connect on your own. And like I say, Renee, comes down to knowledge is power. If you tell the men, let's make it a date night, guess what? They're in. Check each other. That's what makes it, if you can make cancer fun, that's what makes cancer screening fun, is if you find it on your partner or spouse or whatever, that's going to change and save their lives. So they're here with you for the futures in the years to come. With Brett's children, we teach her at age 5.
Wow.
It's never too young to teach a human being to know to check their breast.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. And we have already talked to our colon cancer nurse navigator because that's on the rise as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are looking to go to the high schools. And
Yes.
I don't want women to panic when they have, a young girl who's just gone into puberty. But again, they have to know their bodies. That's what
Brett went to high schools and still does when they request, and we bring it up. We tell them, breast cancer doesn't know October, it's month. Yeah. Breast cancer comes anytime it wants to.
Yeah.
And knowledge is power here. And this is what we need to preach. And I said it to you, Renee, too. Yeah. During our holiday dinners, when family is together, this subject needs to be brought up.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know you can get it, you can't check for it.
That's right.
And men don't know that they can get breast cancer. But if you have breasts, and men do, you can get breast cancer.
Yeah.
But
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. And Brett, you have any other questions for Renee or anything as being a young man and with a young family?
Not at the moment, no. I'm sure maybe something will hit me later, chemo brain. But I will definitely reach out. But I thank you for doing what you're doing in a nurse navigator. You guys were a huge help when I got diagnosed. Just for what you guys do to help get men and women through this breast cancer diagnosis. So I don't have much else, but I would like to say, since it's still Lopa's time, if anybody else has any more questions for her at all.
And I agree with Brett. Without the nurse navigators in our life at the time you're going through cancer, me being a mom at that point, I don't know what we'd done without you, because you answered all the questions that come up that to try to get a hold of a doctor at that time, it doesn't happen. And I know Lopa with her knowledge, I tell you, Lopa, you are just amazing. What you have come up with your studies and what you continue to do globally for the world to bring this awareness. You're unstoppable. And thank God you're part of our family, because we come up with these ideas and we brainstorm together. Just look how much more people we're going to help. And this is what makes the change. And the breast self-exam cards have gone huge, a long way for people globally to get it. And if they go on the website, breastselfexams.org, they get to see it, how to do a breast self-exam, how to make this happen. Sarah Cannon Institute, my God, they're global. And if people don't know, and I always tell the story, does anybody know who Sarah Cannon was? And Brett, you can't participate, but right here, in real life, Sarah Cannon was Minnie Pearl. That's who she was. And she's the one that started the Sarah Cannon Institute, because that's her real name. Minnie Pearl, the country singer, and me being 72, knew her very well. She was on all the country shows and everything. She's the one that got the cancer, and she decided she was not going to have anybody else out there not be able to get treatment. It's why she created the Cancer Institutes globally, to try to help cancer patients be able to get their treatment. And you can Google it. It tells her whole story, and she is the most amazing person I ever knew existed. So just wonderful. But any other questions do we have for Dr. Lopa? Because I know her time is precious anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I do. I wanted to understand about the inflammation that you mentioned a little bit more, because it's an issue that I think I may be dealing with, but I'm not sure I really understand. I mean, what kind of inflammation you're talking about? How would I know if I am dealing with it, and how do I improve the situation if I am?
That's a great question, Jeff. So, sorry, just give me 1 second.
No problem.
Sorry, I have bad allergies, the fall allergy.
Oh, goodness.
Sure. Yeah. So, Jeff, the one that I worked on was arthritis. So if you look us up, or Peggy, can you connect me with Jeff? Because I think we have 3 minutes for my session to be over. So Jeff, I was talking about RA, the rheumatoid arthritis.
I was going to say, you've got plenty of time, but we'll connect you. Brett?
Okay. So Jeff, what kind of inflammation are you talking about you might be having?
It's a really good question. There are times that I feel a vague sensation that my insides are just inflamed. There are other times that I think my gastrointestinal tract may be inflamed, like I may be dealing with. In fact, I've had endoscopies that have shown like gastritis and esophagitis. Um, and you just mentioned arthritis. And I've certainly had like on various imaging that I've had before, I've had it say, well, there's degenerative changes, arthritis in various locations. Um, but I just kind of chalk that up to I'm getting old.
No.
I'm not that old. I'm 48, but
Oh, you are like just, I mean, yeah, I don't want to disclose my age, but
yeah, that's okay.
almost same age.
but yeah,
I'm
I mean,
47.
get older. I
I'm
mean,
47.
the arthritis becomes more of an issue. But I don't know if this is the kind of thing, or if any of the things that I just mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing that you're talking about that can raise your risk of cancer. And if so, hopefully, is there anything we can do about it
Yeah.
to make
So
it
no, so I think that's a very, very good point, Jeff. So I specifically worked on arthritis, and I know all the signaling pathways which are upregulated and how the molecular mechanism works, the c-KIT receptor, even there are IL-17, different other pro-inflammatory cytokines specifically for that route, right? But in general, when we have inflammation in our body, like as you said, like even the irritable bowel syndrome, that can be one of the different. There's so many inflammatory chronic conditions too. So I would request that, there can be different blood work that can be done for inflammation too, if you want to do that, and to curtail the inflammation through diet also in a very healthy way with the lifestyle changes. That also helps. For example, there can be a list of anti-inflammatory diet too. Like I once put together in an article what are the different anti-inflammatory diet that may help. But if you're having so many of the issues, it's always good to bring the inflammation down in the body, because I do not know the other research studies with the GI inflammation if it's connected or not, but overall I have seen that to bring down inflammation, even with COVID also we have seen, right, we were always talking about inflammation in the lungs, inflammation in our body. So in general, putting the down regulating inflammation in our body is a healthy step. So if you would like, Peggy, if you can connect me to Jeff so that I can share the articles that I have, and also help him a little bit on what are the different ways. Like I'm sure you are into exercise, so there are so many other ways naturally we can actually bring down inflammation, and diet is definitely important if there is a GI issue. And if you want to discuss specifically with me, if you have certain reports you want to share with me, I would be more than happy to analyze those reports and get back to you, call you and speak to you that what we can do to help with your with your inflammation situation.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think for your case, we need more analysis to be done because of all the different conditions that you are having, Jeff. So I would definitely would want to look into your reports so that we can go like step by step, so that I can do the correct analysis and come back to you and say these are the things that might help you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Most welcome. So Peggy would, if you can connect me with Jeff later on.
Yes, I just shared your email to Jeff privately, so he's got it on there.
Perfect. So Lopa,
and for anybody else, it is in the chat.
Yeah.
Lopa did share it. So
yeah, lopa@breastcancerhub.org. All right. Thank you very much, Jeff, for your question.
Anyone else have any other questions for this brilliant Dr. Lopa, our buddy?
No, it's all your kindness speaking, Peggy.
Wait, you're amazing, kiddo, and for what your whole family is so involved. Your two sons are so talented. I can't believe all the stuff they do to get the message out about all your studies, how you go globally, because you're taking this message worldwide that has
Thank you.
changed
I'm
so
not
many
able to,
families'
I'm
lives.
not able to downregulate my own inflammation with allergies. I have.
I know it.
How bad it is. I'm trying with homegrown like honey with all the, because we say that North Carolina honey is
Yes.
good for allergies. So
You have to buy the honey within your community. Bobby, my youngest, taught us that.
yeah.
And I
So
didn't know all that, but
I'm
that
like a allergy queen,
well, it is. And the allergies have been so horrendous. It help us. So again, thank you, Dr. Lopa, for being and taking time out of your busy, busy day.
Anytime, Peggy.
Yeah.
Anytime. Thank you. It's an honor. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
We appreciate you.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.